guys, I'm here today to do part 2 of my Christmas book haul, and this is all of the adult novels and short story collections I received for Christmas. The first few are by authors who I've read previous books by. I think I said that right. So firstly we have Jesmyn Ward, who we all love and adore. This is Salvage the Bones. So the only book by her I've read is, no, that's not true. I've read Sing Unburied Sing, which I really enjoyed until, like, I absolutely loved until the ending, which didn't work for me. But I did love Men We Reap, which is her memoir. It's beautiful, like, highly recommend it. And I started listening to this one on audiobook and it was a complete joy. It's phenomenally narrated. But I found that because it was so well written and so poetic, I wanted to have it in print form so I could actually, like, pause and reread sections. I find that I love listening to a book on audio, like a literary fiction, if I've read it before. But for the first time I prefer to read it in print form, so I asked for a copy for Christmas. So if you don't know, this is set near the Gulf of Mexico, so we follow a family who live in, oh god, I should have checked how you say this, Salvage in Mississippi. And we follow a young teenage girl as her family are preparing for this hurricane to hit, and she is also pregnant, and her family, she has quite a few brothers, her family don't know, and it's about how she copes with this pregnancy during the period of this hurricane. And the first few pages are focused on the fact that they have a pregnant dog in their garden shed, and the dog's going through labour, and oh my god, like, you wouldn't think that could be so exquisitely written, but it is. And you can see, you can feel and smell, like, she captures that moment so perfectly. So I can't even imagine how the rest of this book is going to go if that was just the first few pages. So there is that one. This next one, I also read a memoir by the author, and actually listened to the memoir on audio this month, so I'll talk about it in my December wrap up. And that was My Time Among the Whites by Jennine Capó Crucet. Jennine Capó Crucet is a first generation Cuban American, and that memoir is about what it's like to be Cuban American and to be the first person in her family to go to college. And there's a section of the book where she talks about her novel, which is Make Your Home Among Strangers, and how her father, whenever she did a reading, always wanted her to say, this isn't based on my real life. The dad in this novel isn't based on my dad. And the conflict that caused that conversation. So it made me really want to pick this up, because obviously I now know a lot about her real life and her voice is brilliant. I always say I don't enjoy funny books, but I think I enjoy books that are about serious topics but have a real sort of bitter humour to them. And that's really how her memoir's written. So I'm hoping to really enjoy that tone in a novel form as well. So this follows a girl who lives in Miami with her parents, and she secretly gets into a really elite college and she leaves them behind. Very soon after her leaving, her parents get divorced, and she decides to surprise her mother and come back home to visit and try and, like, support them through all this. But during her visit, a young boy is washed up on a raft, and he was trying to escape Cuba with his mother, and her family somehow get involved in all of this, and rather than be able to have this quiet time with her family, the spotlight is instead really focused on them, and it's about how she copes with that. So I read the first few pages. This is brilliantly written, and yeah, very much looking forward to getting to that one. The next one, I've read 2 books by this author. So this is A Kind of Intimacy by Jenn Ashworth. I've read her newest novel, which is Fell. It's brilliant. And I've also read, oh, why am I forgetting the name right now? It's going to really annoy me. The Friday Gospels, I'm sure that's what it's called. And that's brilliant as well. So Jenn Ashworth writes stories about working class British families who live in the north, and they're very close family dramas. Like, imagine a Mike Leigh film, that's sort of the tone of her novels. And I just really love her voice, and she has a couple of other novels I haven't read, and this was the one I was most intrigued by. So this is about a woman who, it says, Annie is obese, lonely and hopeful. Armed with self-help books, her cat, and a collection of cow-shaped milk jugs, she moves into her new home and sets about getting to know the neighbours, especially the man next door. It says that she ignores his inconvenient girlfriend, but then her murky past starts to catch up with her. So I think this could be a little bit sinister. So I have like a note of trepidation with this book. I really enjoy Jenn Ashworth writing, and I have no issue with anything she's written before. However, I am concerned when someone who appears to be very slim writes about an obese character. I'm just worried about how she's going to be portrayed. I've read the first couple of pages and it is quite focused on her weight, so yeah, we shall see how this one's handled. But as I said, I've read her books before. I didn't take offence to anything she did, so I'm hoping it's well handled. We shall see. Then I have a few more, a couple of which I will talk about first. I have wanted, like, since they came out, and I'm annoyed at myself for waiting so long. So the first one is Long Division by Kiese Laymon. I've just picked up his memoir Heavy from the library, and just thought to myself, do you know what, I'm fed up with having this book on my wish list and not getting it, because I've wanted to read it since it came out in, when is that? In 2013. I've never seen this in a bookshop. I don't think it's ever been published in the UK, and it's not at my library, so I couldn't get hold of it easily. So yeah, I decided to ask for a copy. So this is a really hard one to describe, and actually it doesn't have a blurb on it, so I'm gonna have to try and tell you this like off the Goodreads description. So this book opens, you're following a 14-year-old boy who lives in Mississippi, and he's taking part in a televised spelling bee, and he has a breakdown and he becomes somewhat of a YouTube celebrity. He then goes to stay with his grandmother, and he finds a book which is about a character in 1985, and then the characters in 1985 discover a way to travel into the future, and then they take these items from the future back with them to 1964. That sounds really bizarre, but it says it's like Twain-esque, and it is, it says here, in a multi-layered, illusion-packed, time-travelling plot set in Mississippi, Long Division takes us, nesting doll style, from 2013 to 1985, 1964 and back, engaging complex questions of race, violence, gender, sexuality, and or relationship to history. So I think that should say and our relationship to history. I think that's a typo. But anyway, it sounds brilliant, and I read the first few pages and I really loved the tone. So yeah, very much intrigued by that one. This next one is a short story collection. Again, I've wanted this since it came out. I think this only came out a couple of years ago. This is Islands of Decolonial Love by Leanne, Betasamosake, Simpson. I really apologise if I said that wrong. So this is a collection of stories and songs. So I'm going to say all this really incorrectly, and I apologise deeply. So it says that she is a writer and academic of Missaugee Nishnabeg ancestry, and she lives in their territory, and she has written in lots of different like Indigenous presses. This was actually published by Indigenous Literature Press, and I really love the sound of it, and loads of authors who I've read books by or want to read books by have really raved about this one. Now, the one thing I will say is that there's lots of stories in here. I tend to read longer form short stories, but actually a lot of these are only a page or two long. They don't have any capital letters, and there's not much punctuation. So I think this is going to be a bit of an experience. I'm not really sure what to expect, but it says, her lovingly drawn characters work hard to preserve their innocence in a world where irony and cynicism would be easier. They spend a lot of time travelling on land, on the water, through space and time. There is heartbreak here, but also many moments of fleeting grace and a wry humour that promises to keep us safe. So yeah, I'm just really interested to get to this one, and I want to read lots more books by Indigenous writers, so please feel free to recommend me as many as you can, because I've only read a few. I have quite a lot on my list to pick up, but I'm always happy to get more recommendations. This next one I've had on my list since it came out a couple of years ago. It's a short story collection, and I'm so excited to get to it, and it's In the Country by Mia Alvar. So this is a slightly longer collection. It is around 350 pages, and actually the last story, In the Country, is about 80 pages long, so I'm not sure if that actually would be classed as like novella length. But it says on the back, 9 globe-trotting unforgettable stories. The author vividly gives voice to the exiles, emigrants and wanderers of the Filipino diaspora. I can't say that word, diaspora? Diaspora, I think that's how you say it. So I've heard nothing but rave reviews for this one. It has such high ratings on Goodreads. I read the first few pages of the first story. It's beautiful, and I'm just hoping that I'll love this one. And I'm so annoyed it's taken me a couple of years to get hold of a copy. So, but you know, very excited to read it now. So I have 2 more to show you, and these are 2 that I only very recently heard about, and I think they're fairly recently published. So the first one is Bury What We Cannot Take by Kirstin Chen. I was drawn to this because of the cover. I'm sure I must have seen somebody talk about this one, but I don't remember who that was. But I, you know, immediately had to look into it as soon as I saw that beauty. So this was published in 2018, and this says it follows a 9-year-old girl and her 12-year-old brother, and they discover their grandmother taking a hammer to a framed portrait of Chairman Mao, and the brother reports her, and in doing so they're forced to flee their island, which sits a few hundred metres across the channel from mainland China. Their mother goes to Hong Kong to try and get visas, but she's told the only way she'll be allowed to leave is if she leaves one of her children behind to prove that they're not planning to like permanently flee. And it says that what follows is like a heartbreaking decision which changes the way they move forward as a family. So that sounds devastating, but also spellbinding. And again, read the first few pages, and out of all these books, this was the one that I had to really stop myself from reading on, because all the characters are really instantly captured, and it opens with them seeing their grandmother smash the picture, and the tension is palpable. It was absolutely brilliant, so really looking forward to that one. Can you believe it? The last one came out this year. This is The Atlas of Reds and Blues by Devi Laskar, and how could I not want this one? Listen to this description. So it says a woman lies bleeding on her driveway, shot by police. She's moved her family to the wealthy suburbs, but she's met with the same questions: where are you from? No, where are you really from? And it says she's the American-born daughter of Bengali immigrant parents, and whenever she says I'm from here, it's never enough. So it opens with her lying on the driveway, shot, and then she goes back to as she's lying there, we flash back and we find out how she got to that moment of being this sort of complacent, this person who always does as she's told, to being someone who's literally just been shot in her driveway. And we look back on her history, and I guess her parents' history, and it sounds absolutely amazing. So I'm really intrigued to see how a story like this is dealt with when we're talking about a Bengali American woman, and how that will be handled, and like how the story got to that point. So yeah, I'm very much intrigued by this one. And again, I couldn't find this book in this country anywhere, so I hadn't had a look through it before it arrived, but it's told in really small, almost like vignettes, which I guess are like very small memories of the flashback she's having. So I think this is going to be quite a quick read. I'm very intrigued to see how the format will work with that story. So there we go. Those are the novels and short story collections I got for Christmas. Please let me know if you've read any of these. I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. If you enjoyed them or not, I never mind hearing either way. Just don't spoil the ending, obviously. And please, please, please recommend me more books like these ones, because I am so excited to read this stack, and I'd love to have other recommendations of books that share similar themes to the ones I've just spoken about. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!